My name is Dr. Elisabeth Kendall. I'm a senior research fellow in Arabic and Islamic studies at Pembroke College in the University of Oxford. I work on contemporary Arabic literature and politics and the intersection between the two. I spend a lot of time in the field, especially in Yemen.
How did the events of the so-called Arab Spring influence the developments of Islamist groups in the Gulf region and Yemen?
Of course, the Arab Spring was considered a great opportunity to harness all of these mass protesting groups, especially the youth, and frame them as a radical jihad. This is what happened in Yemen. Al-Qaeda was quiet for most of 2011 when the revolution was happening, but then it came out with a vengeance and made itself the central figure of the protests and claimed that the protests were actually supportive of it. So it reframed its message as anti-corruption against the government, as a social justice message, as investing in youth, and trying to really give the protesters what they wanted, which was better governance, better security, and a better future that was clean. So it worked really well for Al-Qaeda in Yemen.
What future perspective do you see after the Arab Spring? What has been initiated, what remains, and what will or has to change?
I think that the Arab Spring has suffered from a reaction that was very focused on repression. And so, although that works short-term, movements go underground or disappear or lose some of their momentum long-term, I think we'll see successive waves of youth protest. And indeed, we're seeing that right now in some countries across the Middle East. But you can't put people back in their box and not have the kinds of transitions they were protesting about long-term. I think that one of the mistakes in Yemen, where I work, was that there was no democratic transition. Democracy isn't always the best solution, but some kind of democratic process and some kind of social justice, some kind of transitional justice for those who were in power really wasn't part of the Gulf Initiative. And so hence now, with a lot of other complicating factors, we now have a terrible war.
From your point of view, what role will play a religion in society and politics of a post-Arab Spring Middle East?
A huge question.
Yes.
Religion will, as it always has, play a massive role in society and politics. The real question is, will it be allowed to form the basis of political parties? And my own view is that it needs to have some kind of outlet, some kind of expression in the political scene, because otherwise it goes underground, it becomes radical, and protest, violence, militant Islam is the only option left. So there does need to be political expression for Islamist groups.
And what can other world regions learn from the Arab Spring? Is there a global impact or a legacy?
The lessons to be learned from the Arab Spring would be caution. I think we were very quick to jump behind these youth movements and to frame them as we perceived them, about a quest for democracy as we saw it, about a quest for Western liberalism. And that wasn't really what they were all about. Of course, parts of them were. But when we had journalists descending on Tahrir Square in Cairo or other areas, they would interview first those who spoke English, and second, those who reflected our views of Western liberalism. And so we mistook the mass view in countries for something that it actually wasn't. And the next thing we saw was Islamist groups got voted in, like in Egypt, and that caused all sorts of problems. So I think what we could learn is maybe a slower process of figuring out whom to support, just listening more and directing less.
Great, thanks a lot.